Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 10 of our 12 Days of Wellness here at Ogden Clinic. Today, we are here at Ogden Clinic Farmington with Dr. Marilyn Mason. She's one of our newer providers here at Farmington, and we are so excited to have her here with us today, talking about how to manage stress and anxiety during the holidays. As we know, and as I'm sure you and myself also know, this time can really increase our anxiety, our stress in many different ways. So, Dr. Marilyn Mason is going to be telling us how to kind of manage these things and give us a couple tips. But I'm going to let her introduce herself a little more and what she does here at Farmington.
Okay, thank you. So I just started practicing here in Farmington, and I'm family medicine trained and board certified. So that means that I take care of everyone from infants to elderly, managing all kinds of everyday problems and illnesses and injuries. And super excited to be part of the Ogden Clinic team.
Awesome. Well, we're super happy that you're here. So let's kind of go ahead and get started and just kind of talk overall about how stress and anxiety kind of affect our health. I know sometimes it can affect things that we do in everyday life, but a lot of people don't really understand how it can affect our health in the long term. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so you've probably heard of the expression fight or flight and the release of what we call our stress hormones. And anxiety and stress is kind of that constant fight or flight feeling and release of those stress hormones on a smaller scale. And probably the worst effect that has on us is it does suppress our immune systems. And if it goes on for too long, we can end up having some alterations of our brain chemistry, which makes us lose focus and have problems with motivation and getting things done. And so it's really critical that we manage the stress and anxiety to keep those levels down so that we can maintain our optimal health.
Right. And how can the holidays add? We're kind of in that time frame of we're getting ready for Christmas, we're starting to, visit family again. How can the holidays kind of heighten our feelings of stress and anxiety?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. Obviously, being overcommitted time-wise with different kinds of deadlines, as far as like, oh, I need to make sure I have all my shopping done. I have to have all my cookies baked by this date, and but also there's a financial aspect to it. People are feeling more of a crunch with their finances and being able to stretch a budget to cover their Christmas gifts,
Right.
and all of that can contribute to that increased stress.
Right. And that kind of leads me into the next question. We hear a lot about different techniques or ways to kind of keep ourselves organized, but a lot of the times, those might not work or might just add on additional stress. But what would you recommend for people to do during this time, either with time management or learning how to set boundaries, all of those things?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of a planner, and so of course I think everyone should do it my way. You got to plan, and sometimes that starts earlier on in the year, like in the fall, as far as like making sure that you're saving up a little bit extra for the holidays. But as the holidays actually come upon us, I think it's important to just be intentional about what you're going to do, and to which parties you're going to go to, and plan a budget, and downsize it. Things really don't need to be extravagant. I really feel like simplicity is joy.
Exactly. And I think that's a really good point you mentioned, being a little more like simple when it comes to either planning or also learning how to say no. I know that's a big recommendation a lot of people kind of give during this time, is not feeling like you have to commit to every single thing.
Right. Yeah.
So what would you tell someone that maybe has a hard time saying no or feeling guilty and it just adds on to their stress, their anxiety?
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
There's definitely like certain personalities that are just pleasers, you know.
Right.
You know, I think if you say no, say yes, and you mean it, it's very that's going to carry a lot of weight than saying yes and not meaning it,
Right.
because then that creates resentment and things like that. There's a little story that I'm always reminded about when people ask about how do you say no, and it's the author E.B. White,
Mm-hmm.
who was invited to receive an award by the Eisenhower Arts Foundation, and his response, written in a letter, was, "Thank you for the invitation, but I must decline for secret reasons." And I just thought that was really clever. You know, you don't need to have an excuse, or if you
Right.
have an excuse, not everybody needs to know what it is.
Right.
So no is a complete sentence, but you can just say, you know, that doesn't work for me this time, but maybe next time keep me in mind. You know, it's and I think for the most part, people are respectful of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times the person having to say no kind of gets into their mind like, oh, if I say no, they're going to be disappointed. But that's a really good point you bring up, you know, not feeling like you have to explain yourself, because I think that's where that stress kind of comes on when you're like, what do I say to not hurt someone's feelings? So that's a great example. That's a great story to kind of let people know it's okay. I mean, even people that are, you know, famous and can also do it. So you can definitely do it as well. So as we know, we've been kind of going through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have gone either virtual, you know, even last Christmas, we were spending a lot less time with family members. So this year, fortunately, and obviously very carefully, we are starting to kind of come back together as families. And sometimes you realize that maybe certain family members might not be good for your mental health or add on to that stress and anxiety. So how would you juggle different personality types when you're going back to like a family reunion?
Yeah, you know, I like to approach all these kinds of things with a little bit of humor.
Right.
And so I think just being aware of what your boundaries are and how you're feeling around somebody, and you know, sure, they might be at the family party, but it doesn't mean that you have to sit next to them, right? And so you can still create some space there. But if it really is somebody that's very toxic, that doesn't respect your boundaries, I don't feel like you have to go.
Right.
And again, you don't necessarily need to explain yourself why.
Yeah, it goes back to that.
So, but yeah, I think sometimes too, even just thinking about people that may be difficult in your life, and looking for the things that are redeeming about them, and appreciating that can maybe make that event more tolerable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's very similar when it comes to family members, learning how to say no and not feeling bad about it. What about things like expectations? I know we had a segment when it came to finances with Quincy. If you saw that, he talked a little bit about managing those expectations. But how would you approach that from your perspective? You know, managing very big expectations from your family, from your kids. How would someone maybe sit down and think about what are some proper expectations that they could actually follow through with?
Yeah, I think I heard a story recently about a family that was having a really difficult year financially, and the mother approached the oldest child, who was about 13, and said, "You're really only going to get this small gift at Christmas, and I just need you to be okay with that." Kind of to set the example for the other children of how to be grateful for something, even if it's small. And you know, I still feel like the thought is what counts, and so
Absolutely.
Homemade gifts are beautiful. Just even if the gift is just spending time together, again, that's just that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
And so find joy in that.
Exactly. Yeah, and kind of going back to that added on stress, I think expectations can really increase that because you want to, impress someone or do something nice, but obviously just being grateful and showing that gratitude in ways that you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another topic I kind of want to get into that I know might also be difficult for some people during this time is grief. Oftentimes we might lose a family member very close to the holidays, or someone's, death anniversaries during this time. And grief can also really cause some effects on our health. How does grief kind of play into stress and anxiety during the holidays and also into our health?
Yeah, I think this is something that I think about quite a bit because I did lose my mother this year, and this will be our first holiday without her. And so it's kind of almost like an overriding presence on everything. This whole like just that feeling of loss is so in the foreground of everything that we do, and you really don't know what it's going to be like from one moment to another.
Right.
And so, I think just giving yourself and giving other people that may be experiencing that just a lot of grace,
Right.
because it may be that they're planning to show up or planning to contribute in one way, and then find that they can't do it.
Absolutely.
And just all bets are off.
Right.
There's no right or wrong way to grieve somebody, and it's like going on a roller coaster with a blindfold on. You don't know what's around the next corner.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you so much for sharing that. And also, when it comes to grief, I think people don't know how to approach that, like you said, giving people time. And I think one overall theme this year is kind of showing kindness and showing gratitude to people. What would you say, on the other side of the grief, people that might not understand?
Yeah.
How would you encourage them to kind of be a little more understanding or kind of talk through with someone that might be experiencing that grief?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes a really difficult thing to talk to people about, and so so sometimes we end up avoiding that topic, and it makes the grieving person feel like they're alone in it. One thing that is really critical for people that have experienced loss is they want to know that their person's life had meaning, and so and they do want to talk about it. Most people, at least. And so I think invite conversations about what made Christmas special for or with your loved one that you've lost, and what were their favorite traditions, and for me, like my mom always she always overdid. She had 22 grandchildren and had to buy gifts for all of them, and it was just a mess. It was always a disaster trying to find the right sizes and the right books and all. She always did. She always was really big about it, and so she'd show up on Christmas morning with just armfuls of gifts, and it was really fun and special. So things like that. Everybody's going to have those really precious memories, and share them.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really important. Kind of keeping that person's spirit alive even throughout the holidays. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what about, someone that may be experiencing, stress and anxiety, but also kind of feeling like they might be feeling, either a little depressed, or what resources are there out there, or what would you encourage them to do during this time? I know it might be hard to kind of reach out for help, but obviously, from a physician's perspective, what recommendations would you give?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely things that can be helpful to manage depression and anxiety outside of medical therapy. So, things that I would recommend are daily meditation, journaling to help to clarify and acknowledge your own feelings. Daily exercise. I mentioned before the stress cycle. Exercise is the end of that stress cycle, and so that gives your body and your mind a place to put that extra energy, and that's also going to help you to sleep better. And also has other health benefits, of course. But so those are some things that you can try. There's all kinds of mental health therapies. I often tell my patients, sometimes your employer may offer an EAP plan that allows you to talk to somebody for free, usually for at least a few sessions, and that they can give you some great ways to cope with some of these issues. And then we're always here too, and I'm happy to have people come in for a visit, and we have certain tools that we use to assess how severe their depression or their anxiety is, and sometimes medication is needed, and sometimes we just have other discussions about how to manage it.
Absolutely. That's all great information. And obviously just remembering that it's okay to, seek help. I think a lot of people might feel kind of scared to take that initial step, but like Dr. Mason just said, it's okay to seek help and seek all these resources that are available to you. Is there anything else that you would like to add that you think might be valuable to everyone watching us today?
Just a reiteration of simplicity is joy. It doesn't have to be perfect. When you're planning things, kind of allow for a little spontaneity in it, and don't worry if your house is perfectly clean or your Christmas tree is perfectly straight. It's all really about being together and celebrating. It's a beautiful time of year.
Absolutely. That's a great message. We get so held up on the little things that we forget the overall picture. So we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions. If anyone has questions for Dr. Marilyn Mason, she's happy to answer them for you. Someone actually commented that running is a great way for them to, keep their mind still and kind of relax. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Saying whatever brings you joy and peace is what the holidays should be about. No one else's version. I love that.
Absolutely. And that's definitely the message we're trying to get out today, and trying to help people kind of reduce all these feelings that we might get. So that was all just great information. Do you have any fun plans, or are you all ready for the holidays?
I have one more trip to Costco to make.
The stores are hectic right now.
Just for we're gonna have a family dinner and awesome. just enjoy being together.
Absolutely. That is awesome. So it doesn't look like we have any questions, but again, like any other live we've done, if you watch this later on in the day, feel free to leave your questions, your comments below, and I'll make sure to relay them over to Dr. Mary Ellen Mason, and she will answer them for you. But thank you so much for being here with us today. That was all great information, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.